We are back with Georgia State softball head coach Becca Owens. The team is just won its weekend series against South Alabama, and we're going to delve into that. But coach, first of all, thank you for joining us on this edition of
Thank you for
Fighting
having me.
Peaches. We talked about so much the enthusiasm and the energy and how important that is for the program and kind of in its current state. How did it feel to see some of that energy be rewarded this past weekend with your series win and coming out with the conference series with two victories out of three?
Totally. One, it always feels good to win. You know what I mean? Like that's why I love winning. I hate losing. So winning in itself was awesome. And the fact that I was just like proud of the girls and the fact that they have just stayed consistent and they brought the same type of energy, the same type of enthusiasm to each game, no matter if we win or lose. And I think, that's what you saw this weekend is they showed up and they did their job and they did it twice and we took the series and that was awesome.
What was different from the early part of the season to what you saw against South Alabama, just overall as a team?
Yeah, I think, well, one, there's a couple cool things. The cool thing about, day one is that we won on a walk-off bunt, right? A walk-off suicide bunt, which was awesome. That was crazy. But the cool thing about that game is something that we've been working on all season is not letting these like failures like really get us down or take the wind out of our sails. And we went 6 innings scoreless, right? Both teams did, but there was never a time in those like 6 innings that I felt like one, we didn't have the momentum, or two, we just let it like defeat us, right? Like we were battling offensively, battling. We had bases loaded a couple times. Usually, right in the beginning and part of the season, that would happen to us if we did not score a run. We'd basically become defeated, and it'd be like, oh, here we go again. Like we're gonna lose, and that's how they operated. But in that game in particular, they never did that, right? They never gave up. They never got discouraged. They just kept plugging away until we got that one run. And I was really proud of them for that. And on Saturday, what you saw, which I thought was cool, is the bunt on Friday, but it was the bombs on Saturday, right? We had a couple home runs, I think 3 home runs, and I was like, wow, we just won the game one day on a bunts, another day on bombs. Like I'm like, what is happening? So that was really cool. But I just thought that game we did a really good job of playing as a team. Right, like Boulware went 5 innings scoreless. The Kate came in and she shut them down. We had stellar defense. Like I don't even think we made an error, maybe one on defense. And then the offense did its job. So we always talk about winning the different facets of the game, right? Pitching, defense, and offense, and we won every facet of the game. Like that, the one that's hard to do, but everyone showed up and that was awesome. I just thought it was an awesome team win.
Yeah, and go back to the pitching. Sydney, went 6 innings, and then Kate finished off the Saturday game. How important is
Mm-hmm.
that with pitching? And we've seen the struggles the early part of the
Mm-hmm.
season, but to get that
Totally.
solid pitching from the circle, how important is that
Yeah.
just for the team as you progress through Sunbelt play?
Yeah, I think it's huge for us. One, because it saves kind of our pitching staff as we go game to game each day. And two, it takes pressure off of the offense, right? So maybe our offense isn't like our most strong point, but we don't need to add more pressure to an offense that's already trying to figure it out. So when the pitchers can do that, when they can go 5, 6, 7 innings, then our offense gets a shot to figure out what they need to do at the plate. And they were able to do that, especially on that Friday. And then Bolware, right, just held them down. So it was like what could go wrong, right? We were hitting bombs one an inning, and then she was shutting them out. So that was a game I think that they really felt confident. The pitchers really felt confident that the defense would have their back, and then the offense showed up because they could kind of play freely because the pitchers were owning it, the defense was doing its job, and the offense just got to swing.
Yeah, and three home runs as you mentioned on Saturday. Is that just different approach to the plate? Is that just kind of how it worked out? Do you expect to see more power? Because you talk so much about manufacturing runs, and you want to get runs any way you can. But do you think that may be a turn to see more production on extra base hits and even home runs?
Totally. I think, our offense, like when you come into a new coaching staff and you come into like, something new, especially the offensive piece, because there's so many layers to it. I think it just takes a while to establish and it takes a minute to really like understand, okay, this is our approach at the plate. This is how you execute it. And this is how you not let it like freak you out essentially. Right. Because some people just want to go up there and hit it. I'm like, the pitches are too good in the Sun Belt to not have a plan. So, and this is the first year they've done it. So right now, how I feel, which I'm pumped about, is we're making strides offensively and we're starting to catch a rhythm. And seeing those extra base hits and seeing them go up there and hit those bombs again, it just gives them confidence to swing like that every time. Instead of swinging not to lose, you're swinging to win. And the fact that they can see themselves doing that now, I think is just going to help our offense kind of keep rolling.
Yeah, and now you head to Georgia Southern. Before we get to the on the field stuff, just as a marker of the season, where do you think the team is now? Not only are you fully entrenched now in conference play, but now you're facing the in-state rival and all of the
Right.
things that come with that. Before we get to the on the field, what about this being coming at this point in the season, driving down to Statesboro?
Mhm.
What's the anticipation like of being in that this all Georgia contest with two rivals? And I'm sure the players have crossed paths at prep
Yeah.
level, high school, or AAU or whatever. And I'm sure you may have even tried to recruit or are recruiting some of the same players. What will
Right.
that be like just facing Georgia Southern?
Totally. The girls are pumped about it. And it's something for me that I didn't even realize like how big of a rivalry it was until, the Georgia Southern football game. And I'm walking down like the little aisleway with some recruits and people are booing me. And I'm like, what are these people doing? But it's just how the rivalry is. And the girls, right, they always have something to say. They're competitive, they're chippy. Southern is chippy. So our girls are definitely pumped about it. They love the rivalry. They love the competitiveness of it. And it's also like half of the team is people that are their friends and they want to beat their friends. And you can't blame them for that. So for me personally, and honestly, it's just because I'm new to the actual rivalry. Like I'm excited to kind of see what it's all about. Like right now, I'm kind of taking more of an observational space. Like I'm just going to be like, okay, what is about to go down in this game? Because these girls are fired up, right? And rightfully so with like the age old rivalry. So I'm excited to see it. I want to know what it looks like in person. Obviously, I saw it at a football game, but to be in it with the girls and just kind of see what it's about. I can't wait.
Yeah, and then on the field, just looking at the teams, I think that on the bottom half of the conference stand or conference stats as far as hitting goes, but they're in the
Mhm.
top half as far as pitching, and you're working your way
Right.
up that as well. Do you
Right.
expect to see some low scoring affairs or in
Mhm.
that type of contest? Just looking at the makeups of the team, where the hittings
Right.
are not the strongest, but the pitching
Right.
maybe the strengths of the team as you come into this stage of the year.
Totally. We have to knock on wood for our runs, but totally. I think it's going to be a situation where, Southern's defense is the best in the conference, right? They have the highest fielding percentage in the Sun Belt right now. And their pitcher, right? Their number one pitcher just got pitcher of the week last week. So we know we're going to go into this kind of thing like, okay, we're going to have to battle at the plate. We need to keep our lockdown defense that we had last week. And if our pitchers keep rolling, this is basically going to be a similar battle to the one last Friday against South Al. And again, the cool part about that is we've been in that, right? We went 6 innings of not scoring with Sal Al. We went 6 innings of playing lockdown defense. And I'm pumped because I feel like it prepared us for Southern, right? South Al just prepared us for Southern. And in a perfect world, that's what every weekend does. But I think that one really set us up for success and it set us up to, have a lot of resilience going into this weekend, knowing that they have good pitching, that their defense doesn't make mistakes, right? We have an action offense. We're going to have to be really, really creative with what we do. And that's what we've been preparing for all week. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see some like how are we going to pull this off on both sides, right? Because we're just similar profiles.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for joining us, Becca. We
Mhm.
appreciate it. I'm surprised you're not in Statesboro yet, but I guess that's
I know we're
the
about to
trip.
leave. I leave in like 15 minutes.
I'm about to say, yeah. So thank you for joining us
Yeah.
before heading the road. Yeah, you're heading south during rush hour. Good luck with that.
Mhm.
So
I
so
know,
yeah, but
I know. I was like, you guys, 5 o'clock. I'm like, this is terrible. We tried to leave sooner, and then they're like, we need more time. I'm like, oh gosh, okay, 5 o'clock, here we come.
yeah, you're gonna get the lessons of driving in Georgia with this trip.
I know,
You're
dang
gonna
it.
head down. heading down to the borough. So it's a unique
Mhm.
experience heading down there. But we'll be following and keep.
Thanks.
Thank you once again for joining us. Safe travels to Statesboro,
No
and as I said,
problem.
we'll be keeping track of everything that's going on. Thank you, Coach Owens, for joining us once again.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. All right, and we're back. We thank Coach Owens for joining us, and that's real. I am surprised that they weren't in Statesboro yet. We're recording this on March 27th. Their first game against Georgia Southern, is on March 28th, and they are literally going to be heading down south on good old 75 and other routes during rush hour. So they're going to be in for a nice little drive to Statesboro. But we're following it, and the team has shown the marks of improvement. You look at the overall record, not very strong. Even in conference play, they had their struggles, but they were swept to open up conference play at Louisiana Monroe. But this past weekend, they were able to get 2 out of 3. It's against South Alabama, as we delve into. And now they do head down to Georgia Southern, a team that is among the league leaders in ERA, but both teams are, I think, last and next to last in batting average for the conference. So it will be a lot of solid pitching, low scoring affair. So that means it's going to be pretty wide open who can win those contests. And we'll be following it as always here on the Sports Inquirer. Once again, thank you for joining us for this latest edition of Fighting Peaches. This is Etienne Marcel Pertut. And as always, to follow everything that we do, go to the mothership, sportsinquirer.net. You can also go to our social media platforms on Twitter/X, Instagram, and Facebook. Just look us up under Etienne Marcel Pursuit and the Sports Inquirer. And finally, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to our audio and video hosts, which include YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, and more. Thank you for watching and listening to this latest edition. Until next time, good fight, good night, and be safe.